A friend, motivator, and guide to IAS aspirant, international motivational speaker, leadership trainer, CEO, coach, political strategist, and policy advisor. Motivation with courage. Motivation with courage. ZIGLAR on selling. The fact I've taken from ZIGLAR on selling, the ultimate handbook for the complete sales professional. ZIGLAR. It's a beautiful book. Beautiful book. You made the right choice. You made the right choice. A career in the world's oldest profession. You made the right choice. When the prospect reacted to the door-to-door Bible salesman request to buy with, "I'm broke." "I'm broke," the salesman had a pretty fair response. Extending the Bible, he responded, "Would you put your hand right here? Would you put your hand right here and repeat that? Selling can be and should be the fun. Selling can be and should be the fun. Selling can be and should be the fun." So let's make it clear from the beginning that a sense of humor combined with the self-esteem that allows you to laugh at yourself will play a significant part in your success in chosen profession. How I wish someone had made that fact clear to me when I got my start. Laughing more often and feeling better about myself would have prevented many of the bruises to my fragile ego during those difficult days early in my career when I was trying so desperately hard to survive. So desperately hard to survive. So desperately hard to survive. Sailing can be and should be the fun. Sailing can be and should be the fun. In the beginning, I made my first sales call in 1947 after borrowing $50, a considerable sum of money in those days, to buy a new $22 suit, a new dress shirt, a briefcase, and a hat. All professional sales people wore hats in the late 40s. I was prepared to enter the wonderful world of selling. To enter wonderful world of selling. My mission was to seek out users of my product line at exact centers of influence for the referrals. I didn't really know what the except to say that if the people were currently using my product, they might be able to direct me to someone else who would want to use it. Much to my great pleasure and eternal gratitude, the redhead, my wife, Jean, agreed to come along. After driving for a considerable length of time to find the right neighborhood, with fear and trembling, I knocked on my first door. The weather was brutally hot that July day in Columbia, South Carolina, but I would have been sweating profusely even without nature's help. A grandmotherly looking lady who would have been rated among the top 2 or 3 least frightening and intimidating figures on earth came to the door. She smiled sweetly. And acknowledged my presence. I started my canned, not planned, presentation and got out almost an entire sentence before I frozen. Nothing would come out of my mouth after about 3 hours. 3 seconds can seem like 3 hours in this situation. This dear, kindly lady gently asked me if I would like a drink of water. Drink of water? I managed to nod my head in gratitude and she invited me in. I did eventually find out that she was not a current owner of our product, so rather than encourage her to become one or ask if she knew anyone who might be interested, I did the only sensible thing. I rushed back to the car and my waiting wife. Obviously, this was the wrong neighborhood. Over the next 10 days, poor self esteem, fear of rejection, lack of confidence, and mediocre work habits led to experience that were not a great deal more successful. I quit. I didn't take long to reach the end of my financial rope and my courage bucket soon went bone dry. I was knocking on doors one hot August day on Adelia Drive, and as I looked down a particularly long block that ended the street, I said to myself, "Self, we don't get a house before the end of this block to at least make a presentation." I quit. I had been through too many days of not even being able to tell my story to get turned down of the sale. My future, other side. My future, other side. My future, other side. My future, other side. In 1947, the overwhelming majority of the wives were at home. So my chances for making a presentation seemed pretty good on a long block like this one. Logically, I knew that putting my destiny in others people's hand by determining to continue or quit in this way, not an overly bright decision, but emotionally, I knew that continuing to have a doors close to my face was unbearable, regardless of who are and what we do. Everyone needs what psychologists call accomplishment feedback, accomplishment feedback, accomplishment feedback, accomplishment feedback, accomplishment feedback. Some success, no matter how small, I was yet to experience. Even the slightest hint of the getting close to any form of success. The train continued until only two houses were left. The next to last home alone belonged to a widow, Mrs. B.C. Tickot. I gave her my presentation at the door, and she told me to go next door to see her brother and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. J.O. Freeman. Those were the first words of the hope I had heard in several days. I literally ran next door and enthusiastically told Mrs. Freeman what her sister in law had said, and that Mrs. Decote would like to be included if I could come back for a presentation. I got the appointment to come back for a presentation after dinner when Freeman would be born.